this so you know where I'm coming from. Well, basically, I taught science for many years in our state schools, and one of the problems that always was, especially for the older children after they passed the third year of school, was to keep their interest going in science. My headmaster, who was very illuminated that time, said to me, "Harry, my boy, have you ever thought about running a science club at the school after hours, extracurricular activity?" And I said, "Well, okay, headmaster, if you want me to." He said, "Yes, because you know you've already got a reputation in the school as a bit of an eccentric, so it should attract a lot of the children." And he was referring to last term's episode when I blew up a science lab, accidentally, of course, and the lower fifth weren't in it at the time. It was a great disappointment to me, but you can't have everything in life. After that incident, I think there were about 100 applicants, and I had to wheel them down to about 30 or 40. We started off one year with many projects, including an ecosystem project of the environment around, pollution projects, you name it. And after about a year, even I was actually running out of ideas as to what to do for these children. And then I read a book called Psychic Discoveries Behind the Iron Curtain by Ostrander and Schroeder. Still published, I believe, by Abacus, still in print. And in there, for the first time, from the east to the west, from Russia, were these Kirlian photographs. Now, Kirlian photography, which was discovered by Semyon and Valentina Kirlian, husband and wife team, he was an electrical engineer who was working in a power plant late one evening when his hand accidentally strayed into an electrical field which he thought was turned off, and he saw an electroluminescence around his hand, and it got him thinking, what was that he saw? It wasn't just corona discharge, St. Elmo's fire or electrostatics. And what he decided to do was to make his own scaled down apparatus at home, which he then placed film in between this high energy plate and film which recorded the light that came from the person's hand or any object that happened to be earthed at the time. And he discovered that living things were in a dynamic state of interesting energy states that changed according to different things, and inanimate matter was in a steady state unless some sort of energy had affected it. And looking at the schematic diagrams which were then at the back of the book, I decided that we'd knock something together for my science club. And shortly after that, maybe about a week later, we started to get our first Kirlian pictures with apparatus borrowed from the electronic night school that was going on at the time, and also from the photography and photography department that we had going as well. As I said, my headmaster at that time was very enlightened. And I got some very interesting pictures from the children, and they got interested as well in nutrition, looking at foods they ate and the foods that were affecting them, and seeing what was happening to their energy field. And I remember one afternoon being chased down the corridor during lunchtime by two of my science club girls, waving these wet pieces of bromide paper at me. I said, sir, hang on a minute, we've got something to show you." And I looked at these pieces of bromide paper, and they were completely blank. There was nothing on them at all. And I said, "Girls, I'm sorry about this, but you know, there is nothing on there whatsoever." "But that's our point, sir, QED. We've demonstrated it. These are our school dinners. This is our main course. This is our quick." And we couldn't get anything from it whatsoever. Now, if you think that was good, I remember being, a few years ago, well, many years ago now, about 15 years ago, invited to the Department of External Studies in Oxford to show my Kirlian slides, especially the ones I had done on comparing cancer cells and normal cells, which I had done by that time in hospitals. And I was also including there something on whole food nutrition compared to junk food. And everything was going well. I was really chuffed at being at Oxford. Sorry to have to confess that my A-level grades when I was a youngster weren't good enough for Oxford. I was still chasing girls at that time and I didn't study hard enough, so I never got to Oxford. I got to London instead. Sorry, London, but you did end up with me. Had a great time, but Oxford has always been there, something I've aspired to, greatly admired. And there I am in this wonderful new auditorium, disappearing up into the, almost seeing the sky, like an old Colosseum. And I've got all these Oxford dons looking down at me, and many students, absolutely fascinated with what I was showing them. As I hope you will later when we show you the developments from those days of curling. And everything was going really well. I had them spellbound until I got to the Kellogg's cornflake and the muesli comparison, breakfast cereal. And unfortunately, you see, the muesli had a great deal of energy, and the Kellogg's cornflake, well, just had a blank screen. So I said, I cracked a joke, as I usually do, and I said, gentlemen, you can look and look for the sunshine, but we couldn't find it. And there were terrible things like, stand down, sir, get off. We'll debag him, things like this coming from the students. I won't tell the ladies what that means, but that's a student prank that sometimes can be played on terrible lecturers. And I was getting pretty worried by this stage, and a worried director got up at the back of the auditorium and said, Mr. Oldfield, I have to inform you that the very auditorium that you're lecturing in at the moment was donated to us by the Kellogg's Research Foundation. Well, I don't know why, but I've never been invited back again. But there you are. You can't have everything. But I'm here with you, and that's compensation, I want you to know. Well, I eventually left school, and for the second time in my life, and I wanted to work in the hospitals. And I found it very interesting in the medical photography work I did there. But I was very disappointed with some of the treatments that were being offered to especially cancer patients. In fact, when I took their curling pictures, I found their energy fields were being depleted, not enhanced by some of the methods. I am talking, about 20 years ago now, so I hope things have improved. Actually, off the record, not by that much. But eventually I had to leave the hospitals, decided that there had to be a much more gentler method of treating these conditions. Decided to study for a doctorate in homeopathy, which I was accepted as a mature student. And then, at the same time I was developing homeopathy, I wanted to develop the Kirlian further. And at that time period, I was also taking some very interesting Kirlian pictures of crystals, which had some fascinating energies associated with them. Much more than inanimate objects should have. They had a very elaborate, energetic, influx energy field, more like a living thing than an inanimate object. I also wanted to develop a 3D Kirlian camera. For those who want to take this further, it's all down in my book. It's down 113 later on. For those that want to read a little bit further on the subject. And in there you'll see diagrams of my schematics of 3D Kirlian cameras. And I remember having this huge Tesla coil about this far off the ground, high voltage, high frequency coil, and having volunteers, including myself, go on top of the coil, and there was a screen mesh Faraday cage around, which was acting as the earth. And the energy then, in darkness, could be seen around the human body, corona discharge. Unfortunately, the feelings were akin to being plunged into a live ant's nest. We had sort of sensations happening all over the body at once. And I had to arrest that project after a short time because we couldn't be sure if what we were seeing was what we had stimulated or what was there. So I had to think of a way of seeing this energy field around the human body in 3 dimensions, what I wanted to do, 3-dimensional scanning, without interfering with it. And the method I developed at this time period was called ESM, or electro-scanning method. Okay? It's where I lowered the voltage of the equipment and heightened the frequency. So, unfortunately, we lost the visible corona discharge, but we got a very neat electromagnetic package that followed the body in an envelope fashion and covered it. And where the subtle forces of the body were powerful, they punched through. Where they're weakened, they negate and become concave. So it's punched out or sucked in. Also, we were able to look at the frequency changes of the energy field then, and also the amplitude changes. Now, what I'd like to do is to demonstrate this method of ESM on a few volunteers. There have to be people, please, who know I haven't met before, okay? The reason will be all revealed in a moment, because I'm going to hopefully tell them something about their human energy field and perhaps health-related things to that energy field. So do remember, before you volunteer, this is a public demonstration, and I'm sworn to tell you the truth. In fact, I always do tell people the truth. So do remember that before coming out, okay? After that, we're going to have a look at the energy field, which, remember, was originally from Kernion, which we now no longer need electricity, just the human being sitting there in front of the camera, and we're going to be showing you that on the computer screen at the end of the session. All right, so we're actually going to give you some living evidence of what this field looks like. So do we have any volunteers? Well, wonderful. Well, can I, first of all, I'm not forgetting those hands that went up. Can I have a lady and gentleman first, then I'll take another couple, and then another couple. So there'll be about 6 altogether, okay? And I'm rather old-fashioned, so do you mind if ladies first, if that's okay? Can I ask you, what's your name, please? Debbie, thank you for coming out, Debbie. Would you like to pop out here? I'm sorry, you can't sit down there. You have to participate. Now, I want you to know that this is all battery operated, and I'm putting in a very, very low voltage through these crystals, okay, which start to vibrate and oscillate. I'm going to ask you to then make an umbilical link with the crystals, okay, in other words, just hold them. And then their energy field travels all over your body, enveloping it, okay? Now, people feel usually nothing at all. They might feel a slight tingle or vibration, but that's the worst that it gets, okay? It's not being plunged into an ant's nest anymore. Okay. Now, Debbie, I do know she's got a lot of buckles, lovely buttons on there. Can that jacket come off comfortably?
Yeah.
That's okay, thank you. The only thing that can get in my way, ladies and gentlemen, is metal. I was once doing a demonstration at Charing Cross Hospital in front of a lot of people, a lot of doctors, and this volunteer girl came in, and she was fine, absolutely fine, perfect specimen, except from the waist to her ankles. And this, you know, the meter went off the scale. And just to tell you, this was in the early 70s, okay? And, sorry, big part, mid-70s. And it was the time of the roller discoing craze, if you remember. And underneath these trousers, she was wearing silver Lurex tights, metalized tights, ready to go roller discoing that very night. And it was the only one that threw me. But it was most impressive because they knew, I checked out afterwards what had gone on.
Is that going to be all right?
That's going to be fine. That's your way. And just relax. Ready? Thank you. I promise you I won't be keeping you long. Now what I'm doing is looking at a relatively normal place on this meter, and I'm going to tune in to what is the middle of the dial, and then I'm going to watch changes that occur. But I think it's never broken that spot or anything like that. That's a normal relative site I can use. And I'm going to measure the sharpness, I'm going to look at individual organs and anywhere else, and I'm going to then give you a report afterwards, okay? It's going to take me a couple of minutes. I'm sorry for the delay. Any students in my audience, please remember, don't do this as fast as me. When you're in clinic, you'll get into trouble. Possible. It'll be possible one day for you, Grant, making a public definition of that. less than a minute almost. We'll time that. Debbie, if you want to sit down, just to be comfortable. It's not because there's any dire news to come or anything like that. Right. Okay. Well, first of all, I want you to know your right eye, okay, has more dioptic correction than the left eye. Is that correct?
I don't know.
Okay. If you check with your physician, you'll find that the right lens has got slightly more dioptic correction. Okay.
Oh, yeah, I see. Oh, well, I thought they were actually the same. But I thought my eyes were identical, but
Okay.
they're
Well,
quite old, so I don't know.
I think you'll probably find now that there is an imbalance between the two. Okay. I also want to talk to you about some dental inlays. This might be contributing on the right side of your jaw. Okay. There's a couple over here, but you've got some metal there, the back of the jawline. Okay. And this is pulling your energy field over to your right-hand side. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Well, this tooth is coming through as well, is
And
that-
it's painful, yeah? Okay. Well, that's probably why your energy field is being pulled over to the right so much there, okay? You've sometimes had some trouble with your throat. Your throat chakra is not the strongest of chakras. And also I want to talk to you about allergies, okay? Because that's your biggest trouble. Yeah, I always do. I work up to it. I'm a bit like Columbo. Don't know if you've known Columbo. I'll wear the raincoat next time. But I start off sort of nice and pleasant, and then I always go for the throat. Well, in this case, the thymus gland, which is an indication to me that you have had some allergies. I looked around. I felt they've been affected. They've affected the skin. They've affected your breathing, and also your digestion. Also, if you were to take too much wheat and milk together, that would be disastrous. It would almost kill you, Debbie. Got me on camera saying that, have you? No threat to the lady, it was just a warning, okay? So this is something to watch out for, okay? I've seen that kind of allergic responses before. I just didn't get it from just one chakra, I was looking at all the other organs it was potentially affecting. Okay? Now, I haven't quite finished, okay? I want to talk to you about cold feet. Not because you're going to run away from it, but because you do suffer from cold feet, okay? Now, those are some of the highlights I picked up, but there is an old right knee or leg injury I picked up in the distant past when you were, I think, a child. Okay, if you can think back about 10 years in your case.
Oh, nice. I don't actually remember
Okay.
anything that I've never broken.
Okay. Again, it seems to be the right side that seems to be letting you down. It could well be a polarity shift in the legs over onto the right, but because it was happening near a joint, normally I associate that kind of energy field disruption with an injury.
I know it's not
There was no
a-
disease.
I've got an appendix on the
Right-hand side, it grumbles.
I don't know if it's the same.
Yeah.
you know,
It's pulled the energy field over in the entire leg. I couldn't locate the actual, source of it. It's not an acute appendix, what we call a grumble. And it's directly related to your allergies.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hasn't anybody told you that? No, it's all due. You've got a grumbling appendix just because of the digestive systems that are set up in allergic responses to your food. So I hope that's been useful to you. Okay. By the way, the stress and tension in your neck will go with massage if you pick on somebody, in the exhibition.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody chickened out? No. All right, so looking at you, I was looking mainly around it. Wasn't looking at you in particular. Thank you, Debbie, for...
Thank you.
What's your first name, sir? Colin. Colin, thank you for being a good sport, Colin, to come now. Now, can I just get you to remove your armour protection that's in there? Oh, it is money. Thank you ever so much. I always scan, well over the cardiovascular area and what have you. Thank you very much, man. Now, I'm going to usually tune into the right arm. Is that okay in your case, that it's, as far as you know, normal homogeneous tissue resonating as normal to you relatively as possible? Thank you, Colin. You're a little bit more difficult to tune into than Debbie, Colin.
No, sorry about that.
No. It's because I think of an overall condition that's affecting the whole body. Okay, which I'm going to now test for. Let's just triple check on that. And that. Don't drift. Good. Still the same reading. Right, I can talk to you in safety now, Colin. Thank you very much. I think I know what I'm dealing with. Colin, what I have to talk to you about is metabolism. Okay. Your metabolism is a little bit on the downside of normal. Okay. That there's times when you will get surges of energy, but times when your energy dips. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So it's doing this business and oscillating. Okay. Things that I saw also potentially that can I ask you, when was the last time you had your blood pressure checked, please?
Probably about 2 months.
2 months. Okay. Do you remember what it was?
It was high.
It was high. Yeah, just as long as you were aware of that, because this is something I have picked up from you. I can't give you the actual systolic and diastolic readings, but they would both be sort of not dangerous numbers, but something that a physician would bring to your attention and be slightly concerned over.
I take blood pressure pills.
You do take blood pressure pills, yeah. This is a highlight that I have to come on to right away because it's potentially serious if you weren't taking any medication to control this metabolic disorder.
Yes.
Okay. I checked also around, and I also know that at times after exertion you get breathless. Okay. And if you were to run upstairs or have surges when you need to do things, you know, you suddenly find yourself taking deeper breaths than normal. Okay. This is because of a constriction, yes, the muscles and things like this sometimes being tight. Also, something else to watch out for is your gallbladder. Okay. Animal fats especially would be rather detrimental to you. And the other thing that also would be detrimental to you is any large quantities of alcohol. Okay. Which of course you don't do because I've seen the liver, it's in good order. But it's something to guard against, you know, when you're at a social gathering or whatever. Can I go on?
Yes.
Okay. The other thing I want to talk to you about is your lower back. Okay. There is a slight disassociation of energy in the right sacroiliac joint. And if you were to look at a good pair of your walking shoes, okay, you'll find that one shoe, okay, is lowering on the heel, lower than the other. In this case, it's going to be the left foot, because you're actually favouring your left foot on walking. If you're not aware of that, please get an osteopath to check it out for you, because otherwise that thing will set itself up to where it's going to give you pain in your lower back. So that's something of a warning. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. The other thing I want to ask you is an old, what I thought was surgical scar, or something here, on the right side of the abdomen, lower abdomen. Would you want to talk about anything?
Oh, it's just hernia scar, both sides.
Thank you. Was it worse on the right-hand side when they did the operation? Nice, neat surgical work, I'm saying for the record. Okay, good surgery, very good surgeon. I've seen butchers at work in my field, you know. Absolute butchers. I wouldn't trust fixing my pussycat.
It was quite involved.
It was. I know this is a public. It's not something I do. Is
I
normally
don't
in
mind
a
sharing
private.
my hernia with it.
I have to tread carefully here. I have to tread carefully because it is a public demo and it is being videoed. So I really appreciate you being a good sport and sharing that with us. You know, I really do. I really do. There was something else. Sorry, I have to go back in my mind because I've got a photographic memory in case anybody else here hasn't guessed. So I have to go over the processes of the scan again because I know I've missed something out to tell you. Yes, yes. It was adjacent to the gallbladder. This was here, okay, but it wasn't the gallbladder. It was more an intercostal rib that I was picking up, and that was showing up a slight misalignment, okay. Again, osteopathically, if that was looked at, and it will be detected, that can be so easily put back. It might help the meridian flow through the liver and the gallbladder to help you digest and metabolize some of the fatty acids and glycerides that the liver has to cope with in metabolism, all right? So if you've never broken a rib on that side, an old injury or anything, you can think of it. Didn't look like an injury.
No.
Okay.
No.
That's fine. And the other thing, and again, right side again for some reason, was the right scapula here, where you get a lot of stress, tension building up. That can happen, you know, between those points. Okay, just to watch out for that in the future. Okay.
Thank you.
My
Very
pleasure.
interesting.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Right, I haven't run out of steam yet. Lady and gentleman, and then I won't forget the lady at the back as well. So, what's your name, please? Wendy. Thank you, Wendy, for coming out. And relax. Well, you can just get to lift your left arm up for a second. Thank you. That's fine. Thank you so much. I don't want you to go too far away from me. Grant, can you just swap over with you?
Yes.
That's fine. Right, some curious things there, Wendy, I want to share with you. First of all, you know, energy, metabolism, okay, it's quite down. It's been a problem, I'd say, for some time. It's something you'd have to be aware of. I will now give up complementary medicine altogether if you don't confirm this. Will you confirm it for me? Because that, for some years now, it's been established. Okay. Also, looking down the energy field, also I found throat energy, and the energy to the thyroid, okay, and around that area was restricted. Okay? In fact, I go far as to say, Wendy, that's why I wanted to sort of spend a bit more time with you, that you've got pent-up energy there in the throat, needing to be expressed. Some sort of, I have to say it, some sort of anger from the past that you have to let go of, okay? And you know what I'm talking about. I am not a mind reader. One thing I can't do with this is look into people's minds and hearts. That I leave to the Almighty. Their bodies and their energy field, He leaves to me. Okay? And if this, I can help you to get over this, right, then, you know, I'm at your service. I want you to know that, because I feel here that, you know, that you could benefit from it. I don't volunteer my services willy-nilly because I'm so busy, but in your case, I am making an exception because of the seriousness I've seen there. Okay? Now, this has also caused in you changes in your body. Okay? It's caused you slightly to gain weight. Okay? Which you've been worried about, I know. But it's not the FAT word, which you can associate with me, maybe because of an Italian mother, but it's fluid. Okay? You're holding on to water, which is an element of the subconscious. Okay? And this now has a factor in the metabolism where it's retaining water as almost a protection for your subconscious. Okay? So think of that. You know, still water's running deep, etc., etc., but hanging on inside the body. The other thing I want to ask you, have you ever taken tranquilizers?
No.
Okay. Because are you on any kind of medication that I could be picking up in your liver at the moment?
I'm seeing somebody over abdominal pain.
Right.
So I'm on...
Pent-up energy in the solar plexus, yes.
Yeah, I'm on medication.
You're on medication for that? Okay. But it is medication, which
Yes,
I have detected, you see, because I couldn't quite... It's some sort of calming agent, you know, and in this case probably an anti-inflammatory or whatever, but I couldn't be sure.
It's for the liver.
It is for the liver, yes indeed. Okay. Okay. Now the liver is a centre, as the Greeks would say, for ill humours. Things that have disturbed us, you know, can often reside there, and that also needs to be sort of, you know, released. But there's pent-up energy in the throat, direct connection with the liver meridian. So my advice is to talk about it, express it, get it out of the system. All right? Now, the other thing I've got to ask, more on a mechanical level, okay, sorry to have touched on too much of it, I felt it was very important for me to do so. You don't know if these opportunities come once in a lifetime, you don't know if they're going to come again, so I do make the most of them. The other thing that is very simple, injury, is that sometimes you come down very hard on your coccyx, okay, and the energy there is giving me an echo. Okay, it was some years back, but it was quite a heavy fall, and that did upset some of the Kundalini life force there, which you know, probably disturbed the metabolism a little bit. It wasn't the cause of this. It just was bad luck that it happened in that time period. You understand? Can you hear me at the back, everybody? Good, good, good. Okay. By the way, I know that things have been feeling strange with your eyes. Okay, recently, and you've been worried about ophthalmically what's going on. But also I have to ask you if there are things in your life you don't want to see, and if that could be why some of your eyesight at the moment is perhaps okay, fair enough. But I have to be frank and ask. Perhaps it's a combination of all the stresses, the pain, you know, the fluids and everything that have been building up for a long time in you, and now it's time to get well. So if I can leave you on that positive note,
Lovely.
and thank you for sharing that with us, Wendy.
Thanks.
Thank you ever so much.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, what's your first name?
Jeremy.
Jeremy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeremy. Hold on to that. All will be revealed quite shortly. Relax. Very steady. Might have a health practitioner here, Grant. We'll see. a seat. Okay, well, generally, Jeremy, you're a person, I think, who does some sort of sport, exercise, keeps themselves quite in good order.
You're very close, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
correct. You might even be a practitioner of yoga. It's that good. Am I correct, sir? Yes. Okay. Nobody gets their chakras that good without doing something with Hatha or Raja Yoga. I told you, £10 later. All right. Okay. Would you confirm, though, that we've never met before, Jeremy? You know that.
Absolutely.
I didn't know
I've seen
about
it before.
this.
Yeah.
I'm only going by the information I'm picking up from his energy field. Okay. No one can do that artificially. No one's born like that. However, Jeremy, I feel that you've got to this stage after problems. You know, perhaps you had problems in the past that you had to deal with, and you have got yourself better by your own efforts. Am I correct on that?
Absolutely right.
Thank
That's
you.
how I got into yoga in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, first of all, there had been problems with toxins in the body, okay, which you have liberated and got rid of, especially from the joints, okay. There had been some stiffness in the joints, spine. There was even a slight scoliosis, I would say, in the spine at one time, which now has been rectified, okay. Also digestive troubles, energy troubles, problems with the teeth, okay. In fact, in the past, you went through some bad dental experiences. Can I talk to you about that?
Yes, by all means, yeah. I've had not serious dental trouble, but in the past, loads of fillings, and my lower teeth especially are misshapen, this sort of thing, and wisdom teeth extracted.
Indeed.
And so on.
Well, to me, that I know you put taking things in your stride, but for anybody here listening to that, that's pretty major stuff, you know. But you recover very quickly. So these are only echoes I'm picking up. Okay. You recovered very well. The other thing I want to ask you about is what I think I'm picking up from the top of the front of the head is an old head injury. Okay. Where you were concussed or knocked unconscious or had something hit your head. Front arm. Can you tell us about, it could be years ago, but there's still an echo in the field that I'm picking up.
The only thing I can think of is as a very small child,
Yes.
I went dashing downstairs, across the hall, and fell flat on my face against the sharp corner of a
Right
leg
across
chair,
the brow chakra.
and right there.
Yes, indeed.
And you can faintly see the scar actually on my forehead, very faintly.
May I?
Yeah, please do. Have a good look. I think it's still there, but it may have
I
disappeared.
can just see something. It's very difficult to see, folks. There's no way I would have guessed working at the speed.
That was at the age of about 4, I think, something like 3.
When I'm scanning people, I don't see the people. I see the dial and what it's doing. You know, I don't actually look at the person that much. Confirm that. Right, that's interesting. Another echo from the past. Okay. Do you have reading glasses?
Yes.
You do. That's what I was going to say. You need them. But we can rectify. You try the Bates method. Very good. Or our crystal visor. We'll soon get rid of those reading glasses for you. I used to wear glasses all the time before electrocrystal therapy. No, I don't bother. Right. Okay. I think we're running out a little bit of time, but we did go over on the last lecture. Am I allowed 5 more minutes?
Oh, easily. I think we're going to 1:45.
Oh, we are going. Why am I thinking 1:30? Fine, folks. Panic over. Joe. Just going to take a little bit more time. If I may. The other thing, have you been using recently some detoxification herbs or something in the system to help you, or strong homeopathy, high potency? Anything akin to that?
Only a supplement which I take occasionally, vitamins and minerals.
Is it
That's
pretty
it.
powerful in the cleansing action, detox action?
It's only, as I say, really a supplement.
Supplement.
If you like, over-the-counter supplement.
Okay.
Tesco's or something like that, multivitamin.
Fine.
On an
Okay.
occasional basis.
It was just that some of the intestinal areas seems to be in a sort of slight detox. Have you had a change of food or anything else that could explain that?
I'm tending to drink a bit more water and eat a bit more fruit for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But
And
other
that-
than that, nothing.
And any practitioner can tell you that extra water and food will naturally, eliminate toxins. So that was the thing I was looking for. But that's the last thing I need to tell you. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed.
Yeah. Thanks.
Watch your step over the wire there. And I think my last lady, I haven't forgotten her. lady in the nice coat there. Can I ask your name, please? Shirley. Very nice of you to come out, Shirley. Thanks for being with us, Paul. And can I get you to hang on to that and relax for me? Incidentally, if you haven't already guessed, to get the kind of information that I get from you, my patients, generally, orthodox medicine, if you didn't speak to them about your conditions, would literally have to dissect you and tear you apart to get the information I'm giving you. And even then, they wouldn't get the emotional content that I pick up from the energy field. Thank you. Have a seat, huh? Been 2 episodes in your life where it was near fatal for you. One as a child, okay, and one I'd say when you were a young person, in your teens, okay. And the one as a child affected the lungs, I think, and the throat. Okay, perhaps even some of the nervous system, okay? And the one in the teens was some sort of trauma in some sort of accident. Neither counts.
No, I have had near death, but
Near.
I was in 35-ish.
Sorry, it's just that I can never estimate the lady's age. Okay? So, forgive me, I can be a few years out in that, being the English gentleman that I am. Okay, but coming on to that near-death experience at 35-ish, okay, there's something there that affected the whole system. I mean, totally. Trauma, we're talking about. It shook everything up. In fact, I'm still getting the echoes from that time now. I know you've done a lot to get over it, and you've worked a lot to get over it, but there are echoes still there. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, all of them.
Yes. It does make sense, doesn't it? Yes, okay. Well, I know it's probably a subject you didn't expect me to detect, and maybe you don't want to talk about it, or
It's fine.
it's okay. Okay. I want to come on to sort of other things, okay. Circulation could be a bit better, maybe it's a couple of case. There is a bit of fluid retention, which I think you know about, that we need to deal with and get rid of. And there is tension that builds up in the neck, and also there is lower lumbar problem. We've had probably a lifting, twisting accident that you did, lifting children or something, something like that. Yes, and you still do feel twinges from that back, and that's very straightforward to deal with. You know. I am quite fascinated though with this near-death experience that you've had. Could you share it with us at all?
Well, it was when I had one of my children.
It's when you had one of your children.
Yeah. And I was desperately afraid.
And did you go into some sort of toxic shock and coma? thank you, thank you. I'm looking for something like that because it was really traumatic. I wasn't going to leave that alone
No.
because I'm never wrong. I wish I was sometimes, but I've been cursed with that fact. No. But I'm always amazed how the human body, and I'm sure my good friend Stephen Turok will reflect on this, how the human body and the human spirit surmounts great adversity, you know. And I have to say that if you were a veteran from a war, you'd be wearing the Victoria Cross now. I think you've done so well. I know you're a modest lady, and you're probably embarrassed you saying that, but it is absolutely true. Okay. So I've got that to share with you. I think are you recovering from a slight cold at the moment?
I have had,
Yeah, in the last couple of weeks, because I picked that up from the sinuses and the lungs, but that's very mundane. Thanks ever so much for sharing that with the show. Thank you ever so much. Okay, Grant, we're going to demonstrate PIP on a couple of volunteers, if that's okay. And what we're going to do now, folks, the last item in the programme, is to show you the living energy field which I have been detecting and analysing in such great detail for you this past hour. Okay? And I hope you agree with great accuracy as well. Now, there is no other technique in the world using electronic means that is as accurate as this. It is simply, and I don't boast, I'm just telling you the truth, it is simply the best in the world, you know. It's so good that I can only be in one place at one time, like any man. But I've got good people, like my friends Grant here, Nurse Jane over there, and people I've trained all over the world, numbering more than 200 now, who will be able to do this analysis and help you with our crystal system, okay, in a very similar way that I do, and you see me do today. Okay, let's have a volunteer. What about this young lady here? Black star. Come out. Yes, you. The shy-looking one. Always pick on the shy ones. Okay, let's have a little look at that. Goes around the head now. Oh, now you see all the red at the side, coming out the side of the hairline. Okay, I'm just going to point this out. Don't move your head, lady. Just keep facing this way. See all this coming out the side? Everybody, you see? Sort of red. Take no notice of this colour here. Okay, that's distracting. But from the neck and the head, okay, that is showing signs of stress, okay, and tension, okay. And I have to ask the young lady if she's been suffering with that in recent times. Yes, okay. What we would do now is see, in a simple, now I suggest healing demonstration of you and Jane, if you could get either side of the young lady and try to see if you can disperse some of the red colour. They're bashing at the door out there to get in, but they'll have to wait a few more minutes to see if we can help this young lady. Now you notice right away a surge of beautiful golden yellow light that's coming into the head of this young volunteer. Can you see that golden light above her? That's healing energy coming mainly from the radiator, which is Jane on the right, and the reflector now is channeling that energy back into the head. So right away you'll see an energy link up with the patient. It pulses. And hopefully, after a while, we may see some alleviation of that red. Jane, can you move down more towards the forehead with your left? Channel that golden energy straight into the head forward, please. Normally, before this time period, last several years, it's taken me to develop this equipment, only people with gifts of vision and sight could see what you are seeing now. Now, thanks to modern technology, we're able to share it with you all.
Can I speak?
Yes, please.
I feel an incredible warmth.
Mainly on the left-hand side, yes, I thought you would. Where you see the yellow light entering her head. She's just told us she's feeling an incredible warmth. Now, we're not expecting all the red energy to go just like that. It has built up here over a period of time. I think the young lady will tell you that it's not something that's come overnight. And so it may take several sessions of healing and electrocrystal therapy or any other good natural medicine technique to disperse it entirely. But it is definitely needed in this young lady. And you're getting a very nice, lovely orange glow underneath your hand, Grant. The yellow light is continuing above your hand, Jane. And can I ask you if you're feeling anything happening at the moment? If you could describe it for me, please.
Well, as I said, the heat and like a tingling.
Right.
So I'm going through my head.
Good. We can just continue for another couple of minutes, please. I know then you gain some benefit.
Just lock and unlock. Stand right and lock.
Sorry about this, Grant. That's what I thought I did too. Oh, right, I just didn't hold it down long enough. Yeah. Right, you're back on. Oh, now, you can see now that there's more golden light going across to the left-hand side. So there is now much more area of golden energy coming over to her right-hand side as we watch than there was before. And the intensity of the red on the right-hand side of the head has gone down in intensity. The left side is still keeping its intensity. But I dare say that will also improve with time. I think, folks, we're going to have to call it a day there now. But there's no doubt about it, there is less red on the right-hand side. You just stay there a moment. You just stay there a moment. And there's still a good element of the yellow energy still scintillating around after the healing. That's good, but most of it has entered the human energy field. That's really good. There we are. Yes, it's still there. It's still there. Marvellous. Thank you ever so much. I can't even turn it off, Carl. Your camera doesn't like me. Modern technology, who would have it, eh? Well, there we are. Good, good, good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, can I thank you for your interest and your patience with me? And I would also like to thank all the volunteers personally who came out to give me a hand with the lecture. Without them, it wouldn't have been anything at all. And I really appreciate them sharing so much with us, you know, and I hope that we're going to be of assistance and help in any way we can. I want you to know it just doesn't end here, you know. Do take advantage of us. We're on stand 113 for the rest of the day. I may not be there all the time, except when I'm signing books, but whenever you can, try and collar me. I do run very fast for a big man. I do. Except from the ladies, of course. On that very positive note, I think I should exit, Grant, okay? Can I...
Here we are again at the School of Electrocrystal Therapy in Ruislip, and we're here this morning to talk about your other invention, which is electrocrystal therapy.
Indeed, indeed.
I wonder if I could ask you first to explain what electrocrystal therapy is.
Well, it's a combination of natural
quartz, tourmaline, topaz and other gemstone crystals combined with an electromagnetic field stimulus effect. This first came about when I started to take pictures of crystals and gemstones in the normal way of things. Actually, a colleague, a research colleague suggested I do this, and she said that I might be impressed with the amount of energy coming off, you know, and I was expecting, you know, something a little bit more than an excitable state, ground state maybe, you know, but I wasn't prepared for the amount of energy that was coming off these things. Almost on a par in some of them with living fields, and this I got very interested in, and decided that if that they had been associated with healing properties over the centuries, and absolutely folklore tells us thousands of years.
That's crystals on their own.
Crystals and gemstones on their own. Perhaps because I was using the Kirlian field, the electrical field, to amplify their subtle energies to be made visible. Suppose then the healing energies were also amplified at the same time. So then it was a logical process to do experiments to see if I could bring about changes. For example, amethyst, when energised, will bring down a calm feeling. A person, someone with high blood pressure or high pulse rate, will calm down.
And this here, I believe, is
amethyst. Yes, indeed. So what I used to do in the early days was to wrap a coil around it and sort of have people sort of like place it on them and things like this. Very crude, you know, methods of energising the whole crystal. Then I thought of more sophistication needed, and obviously I was working with the ESN then, and I had already scaled down the voltage of that equipment, and I increased the frequency. And then it was a matter of seeing how I could place the crystals in circuit with the equipment.
So the equipment is this machine here?
Yes.
And this pulses?
Yes. An pulse high frequency electromagnetic field through the crystals, which then vibrate. And of course people say, oh well, how can that work? Because it's unipolar. You see, most people get, especially technical people, get a bit worried by this. It works by two effects. This is electropositive, and of course the body is electronegative in comparison to the crystals, and therefore the energy is always wanting to earth itself into the body.
So does the energy come from this machine through the crystals?
That's correct.
And then into...
It has a battery source in there. It can be powered up on the mains as well. And here we also have another method, you probably see this going off here, where I combined, this developed from my laser work with crystals, where we pulse lasers through crystals for therapeutic effects, placing the crystals on the body and using a laser to energise the crystal actually on the body. Of course then it was a better thing to do was to put in an energetic system that would energise the crystal and be all compact and placed against the body, which could be more portable and easier to use in a clinical sense.
Okay, so that's the machinery. So let's just get this right from my point of view. This is a machine which pulses electromagnetic energy through crystals, different colour crystals, into
this is
the
the
energy field
of the body.
Human body.
Yeah. It also has another method of going in by induction. That's why there's no electrical contact there, because it's charging without touching the body.
Okay, I've heard you say that it's like a tuning fork.
Indeed, it's a very think of it like a sophisticated tuning fork for a Steinway piano. If a Steinway piano goes out of tune, you call in the piano tuner. He has a number of forks, various purposes, different parts of the piano, tightens the strings or loosens them to get the right harmonies in the whole instrument.
Okay. Now, I can see you've got crystals in a glass tube here, but this one here, I think, say for example, you had a bad knee.
Yeah. Well, first of all, this is very flexible. It can move around in most contours of the body, even large contours like mine and yours, Greg. And here, let's say I had a wonky knee. I've used this on racehorses and all sorts of things.
Oh, so it can be used on animals as well as humans?
Absolutely. In fact, some of my best patients are animals because they respond so quickly. And they have no barriers, you see. There's no, if they trust you, they know you're doing something good for them. They don't have those kind of psychological barriers that you have to get through with human beings, and sometimes a lot of fear and apprehension against the unknown.
Okay.
And for most people, this is the unknown. And that gets attached now into the equipment, and so, and then you have a working system.
Now, I noticed a number of dials on the machine.
Yeah, well...
so presumably the dials have to be tuned in, do they, to the...
Oh, yes, indeed. For example, it's a double-purpose machine, this. This machine's also used for ESM scanning, so we can diagnose with it.
Mm-hmm.
But we're also, by changing the wavelength here of the wave, and the pulse rate, we can dial in various rates for various conditions and various harmonics of the chakras.
So if this is on your knee now, this would be
pertaining to the
related
base
to
chakra. If it was an injury, possibly the base chakra wouldn't need rectifying, because the injury would have been an outside force infringing on my system, but it wouldn't have affected the integrity of the chakra, unless, of course, the injury goes on for so long that it changes my gait, my style of walking, and my life, etc. If it was a disease state brought on by arthritis, of course the base chakra would have been affected before even the knee.
So the therapist, or the person having the therapy, has to know something about these...
harmonics of the...